What kind of music equipment do you need to make music for sync licensing? I know that sounds like an easy answer, music equipment, but someone asked me this and then I seriously start thinking about it. It's not that it's a crazy question, but this person is just curious. I'm assuming this person has never made music before, right? And they want to start their journey with sync licensing, just like I want to start my journey with artists. So I probably would say the same question. What kind of equipment do I need to make music for music artists? So I start thinking about the question. I was like, this is a legitimate question that I haven't answered on the channel. You may be wanting to get into sync licensing, but you don't know what equipment you need, or you're on the fence of if your equipment you have can make music for sync licensing. Let me explain. If you're just starting out in your music production and want to get into sync licensing, I would suggest you start with a DAW, or digital audio workstation. This probably is the best overall bang for your buck. Now, you'll need a laptop to work this. They do have some mobile applications and phone applications, but I find it best to work on a laptop, especially if you're getting started. Things are a little bit easier to work with a DAW. And they have cost-efficient DAWs, like for the Mac, they have GarageBand and Logic. And then for PC, they have Ableton, FL Studio, Reaper. And there's a ton of different DAWs that you can use and even try out on a free basis and low-cost basis. And the reason why you want a DAW is because they come with a variety of sounds that help you make things for sync licensing. Most of the time when you're making music, especially if you're just making instrumentals, you want to be able to combine different sounds together. So things like drum sounds, different synth sounds, like guitar, bass, different things like that to make one complete song. Let's say you already have an instrument, but you only have the guitar and you want to get into sync. Now, you can get placements with guitar only tracks, but that kind of limits what you're going to get into. But maybe you're a great virtuoso guitarist and you find that one perfect library that likes guitar music. Well, you can get into it. Now, that would be rare to get into because you're really limiting the scope of what you can make. Now, if you can make something with guitars and say drums and a bass, different instruments, then you're working with something. So I'm not saying you can't get into sync licensing with just a single instrument like a guitar, but it's going to severely limit your options. You need more around it to build out the whole song in your music. And speaking of adding other sounds, most of the time you're going to want some kind of drum beat. And let's say if you have an MPC. Well, I know the older MPCs, they didn't come with any sounds. So how could you make music? Exactly. And if you're using an MPC, most people, when they're using an MPC, they're chopping up old records. And chopping up old records is not a great way to go for sync licensing. You want to be able to have music that is already cleared. When you're sampling from someone's records, you don't have permission to use that unless you cleared it. But there will be no reason to pay all this money to clear a sample that might never get placed. So you can still sample if you use MPC. If you use a service like Splice or LoopCloud, where they make royalty-free loops, so you slice them up in an MPC, and now you can use those beats to make music. So you see how the difference is between like having a guitar, a DAW, MPC. The MPC doesn't have sounds, but you can still sample the same way. You just have to make sure the sounds are royalty-free. And you can add that guitar to it and sample that guitar and do different effects and things with that. So it's not that standalone equipment is bad in itself, but you're going to need a lot of things around it to make a whole complete beat and to have more options for different sync libraries. Another piece of gear that you may have or maybe thinking about getting if you want to get in sync licenses is groove boxes. Now, some of these groove boxes, they only come with drum sounds. That might be hard to get into a library. And there might be some specialty library who only likes drum sounds, and you can make a killer groove with drum sounds on your groove box, but that's rare. Again, just like the previous examples, you want things to build around it. So a groove box in its own, it wouldn't be that great for sync licensing. And lastly, you might have a mic or might be thinking about getting a mic, but if you're not really recording any vocals, then you might not need a mic. For me, I only really make instrumental music. Sometimes I'll rap on a beat. I'm definitely not a rapper, but I consider myself a good songwriter. And sometimes if I want to just submit my vocals for a track, I would, but it's not often that I submit my vocals. Now, if I'm working with someone else who wants a custom track, like for their business, then I'm making up a rap and then I'm using my vocal mic. But you don't need a vocal mic to record your vocals if you're not really gonna work with vocals. Now, you might be recording your acoustic guitar or something like that with a mic, but that's just to get it into some other machine so you can either sample it or put it in your DAW so you can manipulate the sound. If you're a producer rapper, you're definitely in need of a mic so you can record yourself with your vocals. Even though you might already have a lot of standalone analog music equipment, you'll still need some kind of way to take this analog signal and make it into a digital signal. So you'll need an audio interface hooked up to your laptop so you can get the signal into your laptop and make it into digital form. Because most libraries in this day and age, they want links to where your music is at. That's what we're dealing with now. I remember when I first started, you can send in beat tapes and beat CDs and thumb drives. Yes, that's what I would send in because that's how they would accept things. We didn't have the technology to send things through email, to send it through streaming. So now, even though you have this nice analog gear, you need something to get it digitally converted. So then that way you can get it heard by someone at a music library. I hope this short video and list helps you determine what kind of things you can use for making music with sync licensing. Like I said, if you're a beginner, I would suggest you start with a DAW. That provides the most bang for your buck and helps you have a variety of different sounds that you can use to make music with. And if you want more tips and strategies about sync licensing, check out one of these videos.